If you've never tried something before, even at the risk that you might fail and look silly or stupid, would you do it? This week, I really pushed myself to try something new. It was painting an abstract, something I thought I would never be good at. Along this journey, there were so many unknowns. I doubted myself several times. I felt like a failure, but little did I know that this decision to step outside of my comfort zone would reward me with something that I could only find by doing something that really scared me. And this is a story about taking that risk. My first memories of seeing modern abstract paintings were in art galleries. One time, at an art gallery in London, I saw this huge canvas filled with red paint, and another with blue paint. What is the point of this? I remember thinking. And I stood there in front of these bright, bold colors that were towering defiantly over me. I felt challenged, confused, and most of all, disappointed. Back then, I was in university. A few years before that, I was in college studying fine art. My final exhibition was photographing dancers in motion and sketching them in pastels and charcoal. My understanding of art went as far as being able to draw things in detail. I judged my skills on how accurate my drawings were in comparison to the photographs I took. Then, in university, I was consumed with getting a professional degree in landscape architecture, and somewhere along those 5 years, I had forgotten about making art, consuming art. But life has a way of bringing things into full circle. But their return to us, sometimes things take shape in a different form, in ways we might not have expected. When art came back into my life again, it was sudden. A small intuition got me painting murals in my living room, bedroom, prayer room. From drawing to get good grades in school in an art class, to painting these life-size murals of two-dimensional figures and forms were like stepping from a ruled notebook, trying to follow these neat lines into a world without order. It didn't feel like a progression, but a rupture between two worlds. I felt my former experience of being assessed transform as my whole being became unleashed. I've always believed that creating art and living life outside of any creation is a cyclical act. And nothing could have demonstrated this more when chaos assumed my personal life in my adult years, and I felt more than ever the desire to use more color. I wanted to create paintings full of layers and textures that mirrored the complexity that I was actually living through. I began refusing simplicity, and I welcomed the mess. My personal life made me realize that life wasn't perfect, nor was it ever meant to be. The young girl that wanted to get good grades, please her parents, and conform to every rule in society began rapidly diminishing in front of my eyes. After painting on walls, I transitioned to painting on very large canvases. Painting became a place where my spirit felt free. Life also has a way of bringing us surprises. I think the universe is a master of surprise. The longer we live, the more we are asked to loosen our grip of how we think things should be. Take my journey of painting, for example. To be honest with you, I didn't really have much respect for abstract art until I made one myself. I had thought that painting and sketching shapes and forms that we understand, like human faces or animals or any other object, were the only ways to tell a visual story. But how wrong I was. And this abstract painting, it frightened me. And then it humbled me. In the beginning of this week, a few days prior to making this painting, I had watched tutorials from the mentor of my art program. I watched her let go of certainty and control as she layered her painting with collage papers, as she dripped paint across the beaming white canvas and boldly moved her hand, as her fingers squeezed cans of spray paints that splashed in lines and blobs. I was inspired, but I still didn't get it. Her painting to me was okay, but it didn't make me feel anything besides feeling awe in her ability to be messy and to trust in her own process. The past memories of seeing those huge canvases of red and blue lingered in the back of my mind. I didn't want to create art like that, but I tried to think about how to start my abstract. Do I begin with collage like her? No, that didn't appeal to me. Do I cheat and try to combine abstract with some figurative forms? No, that would be cheating, and I would only be lying to myself. So, what do I do? So I thought this would be a really good point at this part of the painting process to just talk a little bit about my experience in creating this abstract. This particular painting, this abstract painting, is completely outside of my comfort zone. What I found to be the most impactful this week in doing this painting has been just to completely, as much as I can, try to let go of feeling this need to control things. I found that the more I kept just sticking with it, the more I kept just not giving up, just keep turning up in front of that paper and be like, what about this? Oof, what about that? And like just doing those sort of like little micro actions. I found that the story of it started to unfold over time, because in most paintings that I personally like to do, I kind of have an idea of my next intuition. But whereas with these abstracts, I really didn't have a strong sense of intuition. So I just had to keep sort of showing up on paper and almost sort of by default grabbing something that was in front of me and just sort of scribbling on it or painting on it or splashing on it, just to sort of, I think, get outside of my mind and come into my body, and just also allow that sense of faith and trust to carry me through. I want to share a little bit of a story on what inspired me to do this piece. My partner and I, we've recently found 2 YouTube channels that really tell amazing cinematic stories, not only visually but also through the written text, the spoken word, in terms of writing about a place that feels very, I have to say, it's not just like a typical travel vlog, but it's more like descriptive and poetic, and it's full of metaphors that I really personally appreciate. And we were watching 2 videos by 2 different channels, and one was about Oman and the other was about the Azores. Just seeing the landscape of those 2 countries and the way each of these YouTubers, the narrators, told the story of that place and the way they experienced it, I just really inspired me. And coming up to the day before I started the abstract, I was thinking, gosh, I'm doing abstract this week and I have no idea what I'm inspired by, how I want to get started with things. And I was feeling a little bit nervous, a little bit unsure. And then a couple of nights ago, we just watched on 2 consecutive nights these 2 videos. It really inspired me, and I thought maybe I should just sort of take those feelings with me as a starting point. I don't think I wanted to represent, mountains and rivers and the trees and the sort of shapes of these tea plantations in Azores. I don't think I really wanted to represent all of it in its entirety, conceptually, and also even trying to represent it. I wasn't really going for that, but I wanted to sort of stay with that feeling of just that sense of exploration and how much beauty there is in nature around us. The YouTuber who did the narration for the video on Azores, the whole concept of that video was basically, he came into the Azores having like this like fixed itinerary, because I believe he lives in the US, so I think he had like this maybe, 4 days to film and explore and capture the story of that place there. Because of the itinerary that he had, I think he was very sort of fixated on trying to follow it through. The weather apparently in the Azores changes like very quickly, so on the week that he was there, because of the storms that took place, the flights were cancelled on the day when he was meant to go to the bigger island, and he had to adapt. And his whole story about the place changed from that point, where he felt like his time in the Azores really taught him a lesson about letting go and letting things surprise us. I know that has really inspired me, so I hope that in watching this video and seeing me basically make a mess an experiment with this abstract, I hope it inspires you to also allow yourself the opportunity and space in your life to let go and just allow yourself to make a mess, because I genuinely do believe that even for myself, and I think for a lot of people, I think we have been conditioned as humans to the point where we have desire to control things, and art making really teaches us the experience of how to let go if we allow ourselves to. Okay, enough yapping and let's get painting.
Peering out through splintered sunlight, all the earth she'll gaze upon. When you wake while you lie sleeping, when the working day is done. Through the windy, wild and barren, over mountain pass once more, I would sail the wide blue ocean if it would land me on your shore.
Abstract painting taught me about how little control we ever had, how certainty was never the point, how life, with trust and patience, will still bring us to the spaces and places we belong. Resistance only dulls the gift of life that patiently waits to surprise us. If I had never made an abstract painting before, then what is my abstract going to look like? At first, this question made me feel uneasy and exposed in a way that I wasn't prepared for. But painting it forced me to confront the parts of myself without a reference point. Suspended between curiosity and fear, there was no right answer to hide behind. So I could only try to stay as present as I can and try to show up. But I wish I could say that it was all a continuous movement. Like my fingers were moving fluidly as if I couldn't control it. As though the muse herself was guiding my hand, and that this painting revealed itself elegantly. But the reality couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, my fingers were awkward. There were pauses and long-drawn silences and sighs of uncertainty and frustration. It felt less like a dance and more like being a toddler, unsteady, overthinking every step, unsure whether I was about to fall or finally stand on my own. But we rarely see this part. When we look at a beautiful painting, or a good-looking man or woman, or someone who appears so confident and so competent in their life, we assume fluency. We assume ease. We assume they figured it out. But abstract painting taught me otherwise. It doesn't hide the awkward edges. In fact, painting and abstract amplifies our awkward edges. But that's the beautiful thing about it. It makes room for hesitations, for wrong turns, for marks that don't fully make sense. And in doing so, it reminds us that our uniqueness lives not in the polished, but in the marks we almost erased, the messy kind. When I finally stepped back from the canvas, my body felt alive in a very specific way. My hands were stained with paint I hadn't planned to use. The floor beneath me was speckled, and my grey joggers, my poor grey joggers, were stained with also some paint. I was really careful not to get any paint on them, but that was hopeful thinking. Pens and paintbrushes, tissue papers and paint tubes were scattered on the floor. There were sections of the painting that I still wasn't sure about, areas that I wanted to fix, moments that I wish I'd handled differently, but I didn't, because I just let them be. Not because I suddenly understood them, but because removing these marks for me felt dishonest. Unlike my other paintings, this painting didn't offer any answers or closure. It simply asked me to stay longer than I was comfortable. It asked me to tolerate not knowing. It asked me to resist the urge to make myself look competent. And even now, when I look at it, I don't feel resolved. I feel alert. I feel like something is still unfolding. Like This wasn't an ending at all, but a mark that dared to stay, asking me to meet it again, asking me to continue to stay longer than I was comfortable, asking me to tolerate the not knowing, and asking me to resist the urge to make myself look competent so that I can discover something that I haven't discovered before. And I have a feeling that this isn't going to be my first and last abstract painting.